What's going on, guys, and welcome to Rabbit's Used Cars. Tell you, I've met some interesting people with some very interesting hustles. But the one most interesting character I ever met, probably ever dealt with, especially in car sales, didn't even sell cars. And had the coolest hustle, but I gotta explain the guy first before we get into the meat of this. David was probably the quintessential dirty old man. You know, he's an older guy, slender, kind of short, always had a dirty joke, really well-spoken, wore glasses, hair always combed nice, always wore short pants, wore a golf shirt. And he used to tell me about his side hustle, selling clothes on eBay. He would love to go to thrift stores and buy like men's suits, or at the time, Greg Norman, the one with the shark on, the golf shirts with the shark, Greg Norman, I think is what it was. But he bought those like at thrift stores and would sell them on eBay. He'd tell me about some of the funny things, problems he had with eBay. And obviously I had a lot of good eBay stories, so we always threw them back and forth. And but he told me about one time he got a negative feedback on a pair of dress shoes that he sold because they had blood in them, and the guy accused him of stealing them off a body. And I thought that was kind of hilarious. But anyway, moving on. David was really cheap. He always brought his lunch to work. He always ate just a sandwich, you know, and a Pepsi in a can. He brought it with him. It was in a paper bag. He drove a little white Astro van, just kind of crappy. Oh, never washed it, just filthy. But this van, you open the barn doors on the back, and it was rows and rows and rows, like these metal rods everywhere in the back. And he had rows and rows and rows of any color of pinstripe tape you could think of. And that's what he did for a living. He pinstriped cars. And he was good at it. Been doing it for years. And I have bumped into him at dealerships all over the upstate. You know, Dave was just that guy. He'd come pulling up in his little white van and, hey, I want to stripe these Cadillacs today. You know, you got to think about it. This was in the 90s, running into 2000s. That was a busy time. And now you're starting to see pinstripes pop back up again on cars. That's a thing. Like, that's an option. And what they're doing is the dealership charges you $200 for pinstripes. They pay him $50 to do it. And he can do it in about 5 minutes. David, it was almost entertaining watching him pinstripe a car. Just to kind of describe his setup, obviously the van with any color of pinstripe tape you could think of. You know, the golds and silvers and reds and yellows and blues and blacks and just anything you think of. He had it. He could do some of the most cool things with pinstripe tape and just do it instantly. He's just done it so much, it was just like second nature for him. But the thing that was fun was watching him pinstripe cars at dealerships. He'd go to a new car dealership and they may have 25, 30, 40 cars they want to have pinstriped. And, you know, he'd go to the Lincoln place, or he'd go to the Cadillac place, or he did the GMC store or Chevrolet store. Pickup trucks, cars, Suburbans, Tahoes, Caprices, you know, like I said, anything. But what he would do is he would take that pinstripe. He would take, well, first he walked to the back of his truck, and this was the thing, showing you how long he's done it. He said, hey, I want you to pinstripe, you know, that square body truck over there, that Chevrolet truck. He'd look at it, he'd walk to the back of his van, pull tape off, you know, because they're on those metal rods. He had a little leather satchel on his side, and he had a squeegee and an X-Acto knife in it on his belt there, you know. He rolled up kind of loose on this arm. He had a roll of masking tape around this arm. He'd take and peel it back just a little bit. He'd get it started on that back corner, on the back end of the bed right there, and he would roll it straight down and just look at it and go, run his finger the next trip down the side of the car, pressing it down. The next pass down, he's peeling off the clear protective layer. Then that X-Acto knife comes out, doors. And right on the edge, that perfect cut. Move to the other side. Same story. Move on to the next one. And you got to think about it. He had $3 of tape in it, and he got paid $50 to do it. And it took him maybe 8 to 10 minutes max to do a car. He would do 50, 60. It was nothing for him to do 50, 60 cars a day. And that's pretty good money, especially then. And especially what he did. It was just a great side. I mean, it was just a great hustle. What a side hustle. It was his only job. But David, to hear him talk, wore thrift store clothes, sold thrift store clothes. And, no flashy jewelry or anything like that. He just, just that guy, always brought his lunch. Real thrifty. I ain't gonna call him a cheapskate, but real thrifty, and I didn't know much about him. Well, I bought the sign shop. We had some old plotters. And naturally, we switched out to new plotters. And he goes, man, I'd like to get me one of those sign plotters. I think it'd be fun to play with. I said, well, David, I said, I'll hook you up, bud. I said, I don't remember what I told him. I think I may have traded it out for pinstripe work or, maybe half and half. He gave me a little cash and, he'd come by and pinstripe one. And he goes, that works. Well, here's my address. I said, I'll even bring it to you. And I come rolling up in the driveway, and there was that crappy van sitting at the end of the driveway. This long driveway, gorgeous house. I mean, beautiful home. I mean, look, a damn mansion. Brand new Mercedes sitting out front, pinstriped. Opens the garage. There's a brand new Volvo station wagon sitting there, pinstriped. That was his wife's car. So, I almost thought I was at the wrong place. And then he opens his other garage door, and it's full of clothes racks of these thrift store clothes he's bought. And he even made them like a little picture-taking area, like it was just 3 white sides where he could hang the garments up and take pictures of them. He was showing me all that, and he showed me his little office workspace, and we set that plotter up, and I said, he's got a computer there, and those were that was before there were Bluetooth and all that stuff like they are now, but we actually hardwired it to the computer, and and got it all set up, and I brought the little program I had, and I showed him how to I showed him some quick stuff with it, and just just said, you just got to play with it, but it's not hard to use, and it's pretty self-explanatory, really. And showed him how to set your blade depth and all that stuff. And it just blows my mind that this man, his wife didn't work. And I just told him, I said, so all you do is thrift store clothes and you pinstripe cars. Because it's all I've ever done. He said, I hadn't started selling clothes on eBay a couple years ago. He said, it's all in how you save and spend your money. He said, I didn't invest in the stock market. I didn't have any big windfalls or anything like that. I found a job that I could do virtually all year long. I get to work outside, enjoy the sunshine. If it's rainy outside, I got body shops I can go inside, pinstripe cars. But he said, if I don't want to work, I don't have to work. I'll go out, make a couple grand, or I'll sit at home, go to thrift store, go hang out. And he goes, that's the key to life, is finding that job that isn't a job for you to do. And he said, you're going to have headaches. But he said, finding that job. He goes, it's like you. He goes, I watch you run back and forth, selling cars. Now you got a damn sign shop. I don't want to open a sign shop. I want this plotter? I want to make signs for my church. But he said, make a few stickers. I can. Just something to play with. But he goes, said, you're doing all this stuff. He said, where's your heart at? You a car salesman? You a sign maker? Makes you think. I didn't think a lot about it at the time, but the older I get, the more that makes sense. And David's passed now. But that was the most laid-back guy you ever met in your life. And just, always had something, always had a smile on his face. He said, what are you doing? So just taking money. And you think about it. If you've ever put pinstripes on before, it's not exactly labor intensive. He did that all the way into his 70s. He was actually way older than I thought he was. I thought he looked pretty good for his age. I figured he was in his 50s. He was actually in his 70s. And he had been doing pinstripes since the 70s. Basically, since vinyl pinstripes came out, he jumped on that bandwagon. And he virtually did it all the way up to the day he died. And it makes you think, when you think about this end result that you want, you think you got to hit it big and do all this. Not necessarily. We talk about all the time about knocking home runs and base hits. And David was the perfect example of base hits is what wins the game. Just a little food for thought here at the RUC. Guys, we'll catch you next time. A little food for thought.
A little food